Welcome to Write Now Workshop Podcast, where you can write a book and change the world. I'm your host, Kitty Bucholtz, and this is episode 61. Let's talk about the weather, coming to you on Tuesday, May 8th, 2018. Let me just start by saying, if you can't tell by the magnificently bright light shining in through my window if you're watching on YouTube, it is an amazing spring day here in Malmo, Sweden. I cannot believe last week I was wearing my winter coat on, I think, Monday. John and I go for a walk just about every single morning, and especially the earlier the sun rises, the more likely we are to be awake, so we might as well go get some exercise. And I think it was last Monday that I was like, okay, my winter coat is a little bit too much, so I need to figure out, some other layers of something to stay warm in the morning. But also the wind was just chilling my ears, and so I went and bought one of those buff hat / scarf / thing that goes around your head so I could keep my ears warm. Well, by yesterday, people were talking about being sunburned because it was so gorgeous. It was around, I think, 71 degrees Fahrenheit, which is maybe 22 or so Celsius, which from what I understand by checking things on Google, that's the usual summer temperature, and it's not even summer yet. So I don't know what to expect, but we are enjoying the day. But it made me think about weather because there are all sorts of things that you do and don't want to do in your book having to do with weather. You really, I can't stress enough, do not write about the weather just to have something that you can tick off your list. Don't use all 5 of the senses in every scene just so you can say, okay, and she saw something, heard something, smelled something, tasted something, and felt something. Check, moving on to the next scene. Because that is not really going to help you with the story. Not the part of the story, and when I say part of the story, I mean the only part of the story that matters is whether or not your reader is still wanting to read and find out what happens next and what's going to happen to these characters and how are they going to win at whatever their goal is. So, how can you use weather as a way that will help readers want to keep on reading? Well, it occurred to me when I saw an apple that didn't really look too good on the counter yesterday. Wow, this warm weather is making the fruit over-ripen too fast, so I need to hurry and eat it when I buy it. And it made me think about ways that I could write a scene where if you are just starting a scene, or it doesn't matter if you're starting it, but anyway, if you're using weather in a scene and it's a bright sunny day, what's the first thing you think of? Everything's good. It's a great day. Happy things are happening, happy people, and nothing really going wrong, right? Same thing if I say it was a dark and stormy night. First thought, scared. Something scary is going to happen, or probably going to happen, or we're wondering if something scary is going to happen. So even if it's just a little mysterious, it's still not the happy, carefree feeling that you feel. And that's the point. What are you feeling when you're thinking of the words bright and sunny or dark and stormy? Now, we also have heard that there are too many times when we're doing something in such a way, or when we're writing a scene in such a way that it's just kind of trite, it's overdone, it's caricature, and of course we don't want those things. We don't want to go too far on the creative side where readers aren't even able to keep up with what exactly we're trying to say, like we're being so obtuse just for the sake of being creative. But how can we use things in a way that keeps readers asking themselves, oh my goodness, wait, what's happening here? I need to know. Okay, so what if you have the bright, sunny, beautiful day and, the sun's streaming in, the weather seems to be just perfect inside and out, and there's fruit rotting in the bowl on the table. Maybe it's not just rotting, maybe it's moldy and fuzzy. If it's moldy and fuzzy, then it's been sitting there for a while, right? So why isn't anybody taking care of this? So then you're asking yourself as the reader, wait a minute, it's this bright sunny day and there's a bowl of really molded fruit on the table. people haven't been in this house for a while, you start asking questions as a reader. Well, that's what you want. You want readers to be curious. You want them to wonder what's going on, what's happening. So you could have like a zombie story, an apocalypse story, a murder mystery, something like that. Start out with a bright and sunny day that has the smell of death in the air or something like that. On the opposite hand, you could be talking about a dark and stormy night that is actually all about, I don't know about you, but growing up in Michigan where we had lots of thunderstorms and snowstorms and all kinds of weather storms, I have to say that a dark and stormy night almost always meant cuddling up on the couch with a blanket or a person or whatever. If it was cold enough, a fire in the fireplace, quite possibly hot chocolate or some other hot drink, watching, TV in the dark, or depending on whether or not the electricity had also gone off in the storm, reading by flashlight or just talking. Depending on how dark and stormy and, other parts of the weather, whether it was a summer's day or a winter's day, it might mean that we're overeating. We did a lot of eating in the wintertime in Michigan, and we always said it was just to stay warm, but I don't know why. So, what sorts of those things can you put into a dark and stormy night? I almost always slept better, so I was always glad if we were going to have a thunderstorm, not the crazy ones that really, I remember as a little kid, being afraid, and my mom taking us out into the living room where we had a big sliding glass door, and she would point out at the woods, and we would wait for the lightning to flash, and then we would count 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, and, we would see how far away the thunderstorm was. And then my mom would tell us, because we were so little, she would try to make it seem more fun and interesting and less scary. And so there was always stories about angels bowling and whether or not that angel got a strike, or, oh no, that angel must have gotten a gutter ball, like hardly any thunder followed that lightning. And she would just make up these stories that sounded more fun to us and definitely not scary. So there's all sorts of things that you could do like that, where something might seem to be one way, but is actually another. Some other ideas that I had, you could still have a bright and sunny kitchen, but with dust motes gathering for battle. Well, that's kind of interesting. When I wrote it down, I was like, ooh, I wonder where I could use that. But say you've got this bright and sunny kitchen. Is it clean? It doesn't sound clean, or maybe it just nobody's been in there for a while, and so the dust motes are gathering for battle. Or you could do anything that you wanted that was not, because you don't want to trick the reader. So you have to figure out, how can you be creative in such a way that you're not going too far and making the reader not understand at all what you're saying. You don't want to trick the reader into making them think that everything's happy and then there's a dead body. I mean, if you did that well, but the most interesting part might be just a matter of using the scene and the weather to do something that actually still makes sense. So for instance, on a summer's day, it would be pretty easy to imagine a bowl full of fruit that was going bad. If it was really getting rotten, then you start asking yourself questions. Why isn't anybody noticing and throwing away the rotten fruit? Like how badly gone has it, how bad has the fruit gone? Is it just kind of brown? Is it squishy? Are there fruit flies? Is there, black spots? Is there fuzzy mold? Has it gotten really black and now it's all like, shriveled up and black and that sort of disgustingness? How far do you want to take it? Say you're not inside, you can still do the same sorts of things. Basically, you're just asking yourself, so on a bright sunny day, what could happen? Or on a dark and stormy night, what could happen? I have to say that depending on where you're at, like a dark and stormy night in Phoenix, Arizona in August can be both electrifying, and I mean that in like the coolest sense, like, oh my gosh, I just want to be outside watching the storm, and slightly terrifying because those monsoons whip through Phoenix, Arizona area sometimes that you're just like, I have no idea right this second now, actually, if I'm safe. People lose roofs all the time. So many roofs that hopefully you're the first one to call, the roofer in the morning, because he'll have 17, 20 jobs to do. And your roof may not be fixed for the next couple of days. So there's all sorts of things that you could do with the weather that's more interesting than just making a check mark, a tick box that you're like, and done. Okay, so just keep in mind, what you don't want to do is just say it was a bright and sunny day and she went down to the store and, there was a basket full of puppies. And so she picked out a puppy and brought it home and it was sniffing all the flowers all along the way because, that's not, just because you added weather doesn't necessarily make it interesting. I did okay. I think I could have done better with a snow scene in Unexpected Superhero, where I wanted to add in the weather and I wanted it to be something that made sense, that was reasonable, that didn't go too far and wasn't too little. And so I had headlights flashing off the sides of snowbanks that had recently been plowed off the road. So it was only a teeny tiny bit, pretty much just enough to let you know there had been a lot of snow. It wasn't snowing right this minute. The headlights looked, a little bit creepy as they reflected off of the snow along the side of the road on a dark night. So it was just enough to give a little bit of atmosphere. I think that I could have done better without overdoing it. That's another thing, is that you don't want to overdo it. So do whatever it takes for you to add atmosphere in such a way that it gives emotion to your setting. Because remember, emotion, and particularly curiosity, those are the things that are going to keep readers reading and make them want to keep on reading more and more of your books. I hope this has been interesting and helpful. I hope you are having a fabulous day. I hope that dust mites are not gathering for battle at your house. Though if they are, maybe just close the door and ignore them. If it's a beautiful day, just go outside. You can always clean up the dust later. I hope you have a great day and a great week, and we will talk to you more later. Keep writing.